rock band Death Cab for Cutie formed in Bellingham, Washington in 1997, and they emerged at a time when music blogs and television were offering a new path to success for music acts. This week, the band releases its 7th studio album, Codes and Keys. Today in the studio, we have guitarist and singer Ben Gibbard and bass player Nick Harmer. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
The album title, Codes and Keys, let's start there. What does that refer to?
Yeah, I think we all have our own interpretations of how that title applies to the album. But for me, I just kind of, we all kind of use codes in the language that we speak to the people around us and the ones we love, and we all have kind of, and there are keys both metaphysical and, not metaphysical, maybe metaphysical, certainly metaphorical, and literal that we use to kind of open doors, to get into our homes, but also to kind of, unlock people in our lives. So I felt that it kind of, and we all felt that it kind of, meant something along those lines to all of us in our own ways.
Mm-hmm. The album cover art is a nice big fat pound key as in a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
In the Twitter culture, that's also a hashtag and has a sort of a different meaning. Is that a coincidence? Does that also have some significance?
Well, I mean, it was really meant to be more, Chris, our guitar player, was really drawn to that image because, for him and also for me and my apartment in Seattle, it's the last thing you hit before you open the door into your house.
I kind of like how there's no real language attached to that particular image. I mean, it's interesting to kind of look at the history of how that particular symbol came into, the world, and in different cultures, what it's called, what it means, what it stands for, what it's used for. And I mean, yeah, obviously Twitter is, it's used that sort of recently, but it's existed long before that too, in a lot of great ways that I feel like it's just open-ended enough that it kind of connects and it becomes kind of a, for me, just a nice, like a little bit of an ambiguous and open-ended image for what's behind it and the music that's, that follows into the album. I took the photograph for that, and Chris actually had the idea of using a pound key or a pound symbol, and it was very difficult finding a payphone that was still functional with a keypad. I'm not kidding. I don't even mean to say, like, I drove around Seattle for quite a while before I actually even found one that had an acceptable pound key to take a photo of, and I was really surprised by that. I mean, you would have thought the obvious places would still have payphones, but they just don't, And
you go to a bus station or anything like that?
I didn't get down that far. I mean, but you'd go to like gas stations. No, I mean, they would have the old payphone like boxes, no phone.
Somebody just smashed it out.
Yeah, somebody smashed it out, or they just have been, complete, knocked the keypad in or something like that. I mean, I actually kind of was a little saddened by how difficult it was to find a payphone that was working and, in decent enough shape to take a picture of.
I did talk to your bandmate Chris recently, and he compared being in a band to being in a marriage. And your marriage, as such, has gone on for more than 10 years now. What have you guys done to keep the relationship fresh?
Unlike a marriage where it's between two people, this band has 4 people, so therefore there are as many relationships as there are combinations of people. The different kind of cliques and kind of relationships that we all have amongst the 4 of us, I mean, it gets very complicated, and it's really, when you think about it in that terms, it's shocking that any band stays together for any length of time. There's a particular kind of magic that happens when, a certain group of people get in a room and make music. And, while the individuals are all very talented, it's the collective that really makes the thing that makes the band what it is.
You guys are far from the first indie band to sign on to a major label. It's kind of a paradigm that many bands have followed, and yet somehow you became the poster boys for that decision in recent years. Did you know at the time that decision was going to be sort of stamped on your career?
There was a roadmap for this career path, laid way before we decided to make the jump, and I mean, I think, growing up, we were all huge fans and still are huge fans of R.E.M., and there was that point in their career where they had a number of independent records and went to a major label, and, there's the inevitable backlash from some fans, but you also gain new fans. And I think that if I think we had to kind of go into that transition as fearless as possible and just realize that this was the best thing for the band, and that if there were fans, they were going to no longer want to be fans because we had went to a major label. Those aren't really the kind of people that you really want to concern yourself with trying to keep, because their minds have been made up before they even heard note one of the new record that happens to be on a major label.
So much has even changed since we made the decision to sign. I mean, the distinction between an indie label and a major label has become so blurred because so many people use the internet as a filter for their music and the information that they get, that by the time it's getting to their ears, the vehicle is kind of always the same at this point. I mean, you're basically using a computer to get music, and it's just about distribution at a certain point rather than any other factor that was going into the differences on a day-to-day level, business-wise, between independent music or indie label and major label stuff. We'd love to be able to share our music outside of the country. I mean, that was our fourth album that we had put out, and still never really found any financial means to leave North America for the most part. I mean, we've tried, but it wasn't. There were lots of real sort of small practical things for us. We were like, it would be great to be able to go on a European tour, and Atlantic Records will help us do that. And it was like kind of that small of a goal, more than it was
very
like
concrete thing.
Yeah, very concrete little thing like that.
I'm curious where, besides the States, you are most popular. Are there any surprises in terms of your international appeal?
I think that where we are the most, where our success is as close to where it is in the States, I feel, is probably in the UK at this point.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because I feel that by the time we got over to the UK, we were no longer a new band, and I feel like a lot of the press in the UK likes to they like to be they like to discover things, and they like to be their press corps, musical press corps, like to be the ones to break things and kind of be able to kind of talk about things that are brand new. And so by the time we started going over there, we were already 4 records deep or something like that.
Grizzled veterans.
They were grizzled veterans, but not yet at a point where we were crafty veterans. A very early goal of the band, and something that I still find very fascinating, that we can go to, as far a corner of the world, thousands and thousands of miles away, and have people singing along to these songs that, I wrote in a bedroom in Bellingham and we recorded, in one of our parents' houses. It's pretty. You think about it in those terms, it's pretty amazing.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Ben Gibbard, Nick Harmer, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.